We are live and we welcome you to this edition about what LinkedIn isn't telling you because it starts, Darlene, with comments. And our comments, are you using it deliberately as a strategy or is it just a throwaway?
That's true, and comments are something that are so important. It's whether or not you're going to be recognized on LinkedIn or not, or are your just comments going to be left aside because they have to be a specific content. It can't be just that's great. It needs to include more. It needs to be something that's going to have them know to give you well, a strategy. You should be using
That's
your
right.
comments as a
That's
strategy.
right. So I'm Dr. Nancy Zaire, and I am a sales psychologist, and with me is
Darlene Petrie, and your lead generation strategist, helping you build your legacy through relationship based leads.
And we have three areas that we're going to discuss today that LinkedIn doesn't tell you, maybe doesn't even want you to know. And the first has to do with comments, and we're going to explore that a little bit in more depth. Second, we're going to talk about the language you use, especially because you're an expert. You have a tendency to use what we call expert language. And as it turns out, that could be a turnoff for the LinkedIn algorithm. And the third is consistency with engagement and becoming more visible. And during this presentation, we're also going to touch upon an opportunity so that you can get more in-depth information by working with us. We have an invitation for you, an opportunity for you to join us with the LinkedIn Profile Lab. But before we get into that, Darlene, let's go deeper into the area of comments, because for many people, especially if you happen to be a Facebook user, you think it's just fine to say, great post, like what you said, good idea, maybe even just check the like, thumbs up, this was a good whatever, and keep scrolling. But LinkedIn algorithm is very sensitive to that, and they don't count it. Am I correct?
That's exactly true. And, so many people will spend 20, 30 minutes writing a post and then maybe 2 minutes commenting. But the comments that they really want are actually happening under someone else's post.
Ah, see, this is becomes now your strategy, because it turns out you don't even have to post in order for LinkedIn to get excited about your content. And that is if you have a strategy to be very clever about what you say, adding something of interest, something, maybe ask a question, maybe make a contrarian comment, a different point of view, reframe what you heard using your words or your expertise. These are the ways that you can differentiate yourself and get LinkedIn to say, whoops, I got to follow this person and share what they're doing to more people.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And it's really necessary to have that, strategy without engagement around it. It's where things always break down because a post on its own doesn't create momentum. It creates an opportunity, but what actually creates momentum is what happens around the post.
Exactly. And so when you comment on someone's post, this is where the magic happens. And what we recommend is that you find what I call influential people in your field, people who have maybe 10,000 or more followers or connections. Hence, when they post, there is a lot of engagement, we hope, and you become part of that engagement. And that strategy is where you're going to excel in LinkedIn. And as a result, Darlene, when they do this and they implement what we just suggested, guess what's going to happen? I'm going to click on your profile because why? I want to know who said this, who are they, and what are their credentials?
Yep, that's exactly true. And, when was the last time somebody looked on your comment and then went over to your profile to see who you were? And you can tell because you do get notifications, that people have viewed your profile.
Right. And you don't need the paid version of LinkedIn in order to identify the fact that your profile is now under scrutiny. Now, of course, if you want to know who viewed your profile, we would highly recommend a paid version of LinkedIn or LinkedIn Navigator. Katie, thanks for joining us live. We appreciate that. And so, Darlene, because people go to your profile, what's the result when the profile is not so hotsy-totsy?
They usually get turned off. You have 3 seconds to have people convinced that you are the person that they want to talk to. You're the person who says, "Hey, I get you," or "Hey, they can help me," or they can say bye. So, and you
No,
definitely
no.
don't
So
want that.
this is what we want to fix. When they
Yeah.
say bye and they keep scrolling, there's a reason they kept scrolling and didn't bother to linger on your profile. And this
Yeah.
is exactly what we fix in the LinkedIn Profile Lab. And it's coming up on April 23rd. I guess that's what, maybe 2 weeks from today. So we're going to put a link later in the comment section as to how you can register for the lab. But that lab, and I guess I'm going to bring it up on the screen. Here's what you're going to discover. And go ahead, Darlene, maybe you can embellish.
So when we say what you're going to discover, I don't want you to think that it's just about in increasing your optimizing your LinkedIn profile, because it's more than that. It's explaining who you are, your authenticity, it's being consistent from top to bottom. And it's important to have those so that people know that you are the person who is going to be able to help them. You're going to be that person who thinks consistently, who is able to know the comments that need to be made, not just within commenting on posts or DM, but the writing that you have within your LinkedIn profile. It all means something, and it's all something that works together. So your profile really needs to be tip-top shape in order for people to continue on wanting to meet with you. Because if you're making great comments, it's and they know your stuff, but then they go over to your LinkedIn profile and it's missing, sort
Yep,
of.
that's not good. So what do people see when they go to your profile? They see your banner, they see your photo, and guess what they do? They then read your name and what's called the headline. That headline's very important. So is the about section. And of course, this will help you with visibility and gaining inbound leads. So we're not going to say more about the LinkedIn Lab, but it is an opportunity for you to be on the hot seat and have your profile augmented, enhanced, and optimized with 2 amazing experts. So let's transition to that next topic we want to discuss, which is expert language. Because again, if your profile or your comments or your post has certain kinds of language, it's going to turn off the LinkedIn algorithm. Could you explain that more?
By having it turn, LinkedIn wants you to be on LinkedIn as a person who is having a conversation, not somebody who is just there. And as Nancy referred before, as when you're on Facebook, you just comment, you say great post. It needs to be more than that, but it also needs to be, especially if you're a really experienced person, you want to make sure that the people are understanding you, and you want to make sure that it's in a language that's going to increase your algorithm. And I know we talk about algorithm, but that is one of the important things. Without algorithm going on, and you're not going to have your post be, or your LinkedIn profile or your comments or your posts or anything be seen by the people that you are hoping to see, like your ideal client profile. So it's something that's really important. And I really see all the time with people using words that
Jargon.
jargon, that's the word I'm looking for.
Jargon. You know, we use words that go over people's heads, you know. They're so common to us because this is your field of expertise. But to the person needing your services, they don't know these words. And when they see a bunch of words that they don't understand, don't know, are kind of jumbled together, guess what? They just keep on scrolling. They don't stop and read. So be careful about the language you use. And you said a very important thing, Darlene. You talked about the fact that LinkedIn is rewarding conversations. You see, this is the key ingredient for enhancing your visibility and therefore potential profitability. And it is called conversations.
That's right. And conversations are something that people are looking for within LinkedIn. They're not there to well, they're there to socialize, but in a business way. And so by having that conversation, when you're talking on your posts or your DMs or your posting, you want to make sure that it's really clear and focused on one idea. You want to make sure that you're not going to be confusing people. You want people to stop, look, and go over to your profile and see what you're all about. And you want people to say, hey, wait, that's me, or that's for me.
Yeah, yeah. And engagement. This goes back to our first topic, which was comments, because you want to, a conversation happens by engaging people. And so when you comment on somebody's post, hopefully they comment back. And again, it's kind of like a volley, you know, if you've ever played volleyball or ping pong or tennis, you want to keep the ball maybe going back and forth over the net because you want to keep the conversation going. You don't want to win a point, so to speak. You want to lob it gently, softly, so the other person can respond. Now, occasionally, and I do recommend this, especially because you're an expert, you want to take a contrarian point of view. And you probably don't have to take it. Maybe it's there naturally because of the fact that you do have a different point of view. And it's really, LinkedIn encourages you to express it. And of course, the way you express it will engage people in more conversation, especially if you're open to, do you agree with me? What do you think? How do you view this, and so forth?
Yeah. And I agree with that, because it's like clarity is what starts the conversation. But when you are doing your, being clear about what it is that you're talking about, you also want to make sure that you're not going from point A to point Z. So completing that, so it doesn't leave openness for conversation. So you do want to ask those questions. You do want to leave room for people's thoughts.
Right. So we've covered 3 topics today about what LinkedIn doesn't want you to know, what they aren't telling you. And the 3 things are about the strategy of comments. Use it strategically. Think about it deliberately. Expert language, avoid jargon. Make sure that you're speaking to the person, not about your brilliance, but about what they want to gain and benefit from your expertise. And finally, engagement, and again, helping you to be consistent with that back and forth volley that you want to help, so that the LinkedIn algorithm says, ooh, you're worth following. Let's show this to more people.
That's right.
That's it. So we will be doing this again in another month. We'll have another 3 tips about LinkedIn, what they don't want you to know. Please join us then. And again, we invite you to check out the LinkedIn Profile Lab so that you can optimize your profile for best results. To your business success, it's Dr. Nancy Zare.
And to your sales success, Darlene Petrie.
And we will see you in